Hello, good evening and welcome to Ion Port. It is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Goyle Company Limited, and also Serene Insurance Company Limited. The media partners for this program are quite a lot. The Ghana Web is one of them. The Graphic Business is one of them. The Business and Financial Times. If you get a copy of the Thursday edition, you should be able to read a lot more about what happens on this platform as well as within the maritime industry. Also, in the same paper, you should get a list of the schedules of the vessels that bring your cargo into this country, and then it helps you to plan properly. So always try and get copies of these papers as well as the online platform, the Ghana Web, and read a lot more about the happenings around the industry. Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on GH1, a bridge version of this program will be aired on there. On Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television, a bridge version will be aired there. Now, tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow is a big day for those in the trade fraternity within this country, within West Africa, and on the continent, because something important is going to happen. We're going to see the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area that's being hosted by Ghana handed over to the African Union Commission by the Ghanaian government, and it's a big one. Quite a number of dignitaries are already in town preparing or prepared for the program tomorrow. That's why we have our subject today. We're going to ask about what next after this handing over ceremony. What is the future? What is the way forward? What can we all begin to contribute to ensure that this whole dream and vision of the continent to have a free trade area materialize? So my guest already seated. We're going to go for a quick break. When we return, that subject is next.
Every now and again, Goyle makes good things happen. This time, Goyle has introduced Super XP Ron 95, a higher grade fuel loaded with additives and yet sold at the same price as normal fuel. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 enhances engine performance like never before. It maintains the engine by keeping it clean from carbon deposits. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 is designed to burn slowly and thus improves fuel economy, making you save money after several kilometers. Goyle Super XP Ron 95 gives you a smooth driving experience, that is, less vibrations. Fill up with Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Now there's no need to pay more for any higher grade fuel. Goyle has that sorted. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Oh, how are you?
Hi Yvonne, a few words please. Everyone is talking about the fire at your production house last week. How are you holding up? Has production stalled?
No, not at all. My crew and everyone on my set is perfectly fine because I insure with Serene Insurance. As a matter of fact, I've had all my equipment replaced, including the vehicles that were affected. My workers have been sorted out. Even my production downtime has been covered. So it's all good. I have a meeting to attend to, so I have to get going. Sorry about that.
Which insurance company did you mention?
Serene Insurance, the new face of insurance, a member of First Sky Group.
Sa coronavirus yare no yare a sign pa. So obinya bi na se opo wagu so ana se ohwinti gu so a wutumenya yare ni bi.
Okadi ni bahani onaka oyehila ekoji. Ohe banye do. Oba wulo. Ogo bahunu. Oba chine. Ojamba wohe. Oba na sen kaka. Mekme musunchon. Mekme nuni enihi. Chitomo boni nke je mo femo ba chon okadi na eko.
Coronavirus infection
The symptoms can range from mild, one of it being asymptomatic. Asymptomatic just means that you may not have any symptoms at all, and the disease process can gradually worsen to be a severe form, the severest being ultimately death.
We are expected to sanitize our hands when our hands are not visibly soiled or you can't really see dirt on your hands. If you can see dirt on your hands, the best thing to do is to wash your hands with soap and running water.
If you're using any of the cloth face masks, always make sure you have a rubber bag ready to receive it when you remove it, or you have a bowl of warm soapy water in which you can place the mask and wash. Wash your mask, dry in the hot sun for at least 5 hours, and apply heat by way of ironing.
Utiliser les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi, c'est avoir un traitement rapide et sécurisé de vos marchandises diverses en conteneurs, en sac ou en vrac, ainsi que tous vos véhicules en transit. Le Ghana a construit un parking bien pavé pour tous les véhicules en transit. Une nouvelle gare frigorifique pour le stockage de la marchandise congelée en transit. Avec un nouveau centre de traitement de données construit et la mise en œuvre efficace d'un guichet unique national qui permet aux données d'être accessibles par tous les intervenants, le traitement des dossiers dans les ports du Ghana est maintenant efficace et plus efficient. Utiliser les ports du Ghana, c'est profiter des systèmes de portes électroniques et d'exploitation des terminaux, ainsi que de la réservation des navires en ligne, entraînant ainsi un parc de camions fiable pour un acheminement de vos marchandises dans les brefs délais avec un suivi satellitaire jusqu'à nos frontières.
Les femmes, à vous les honneurs.
Les ports de TEMA et de Takoradi célèbrent la femme. Que les bienfaits de cette célébration apportent plus de bénédictions.
Welcome back from the break. Still Iron Port live on this channel, Metro Television, and I'm told that quite a number of you are not able to locate Metro Television on the DSTV. It should be on channel 277 on DSTV channel 277. Also, we are live on Facebook at the moment, so if you have to drive out and still want to follow the discourse, you can check it up on Facebook, Iron Port on Facebook, and I will announce the numbers that you can have, the WhatsApp number that you can have to contribute if you wish, and then also at the appropriate time the one that you can call. We're talking about handing over the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area. We are going to discuss the way forward, what next after that handing over. My guest, Mr. Louis Awaful, is Executive Director, African Continental Free Trade Agreement Area Policy Network, that's the AFTA network. Louis, good to see you. Ziad Hamoui is the National President of Borderless or Ghana Borderless Alliance. Ziad, pleasure to have you in the studio. Yeah. Mr. Emmanuel Doni Kwame is the Secretary General, International Chamber of Commerce. Ogima, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
And in the course of the week, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, something also awesome happened around the port industry. There's a fresh weighing bridge that's supposed to weigh the cargoes that are bringing goods into the port for export or taking them out for when they arrive in the country. Is supposed to ensure that we have the right weight of trucks and cargo when they move in and out. Almost all the ministers who matter within that particular space were there for that launching. It was done by Kingdom Exim, a group of companies with support of the TEMA Metropolitan Assembly, as well as the other stakeholders, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority and all of that. Take a listen and we'll be back.
The Quality and Quantity Services Limited, in collaboration with the TEMA Metropolitan Assembly, has commissioned a new weighbridge facility in TEMA, which is aimed at facilitating the measurement of cargo carted on trucks to meet the approved weight standard in the country. The entire truck parking facility, which is situated very near the TEMA port terminals, in addition to the in-house weighbridge, would also include an administrative area, round-the-clock security, CC cameras, driver's sitting area, hygienic washrooms, and free drinking water to drivers. At a colorful ceremony to commission the weighbridge, the General Executive Manager of Kingdom Exim Group of Companies, which is the parent company of Q&Q Services, Iftin Arthur Afari, said the Kingdom Group is committed to expanding its portfolio to bring about development in not only the agricultural and manufacturing industry, but also the import export and logistics industry of Ghana.
We also have Q&Q, the reason why you and I are here today, where we are here to commission the weighbridge service, which is into weighbridge service, laboratory, cargo inspection, fumigation, and what have you.
The director of the Port of Tema, Sandra Opoku, said, with the Port of Tema recording about 17 million metric tons of cargo throughput in 2019, such an infrastructure would only go a long way to complement the efforts of the port for safe transportation of cargo across the nation.
We are happy to support any logistics platform, any infrastructure, anything that will aid in trade facilitation from the ship side right into the hinterlands. And this weighing bridge by Kingdom Exim Group of Companies is one of such facilities. It is to complement what we already have on the port.
The CEO of the Meridian Port Services, Mohammed Samara, added that the weighbridge facility is a laudable initiative as Ghana seeks to champion the safe transportation of goods across the African continent, especially with the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
We are looking to not create an administrative headquarters for this massive trade zone, but also to create an industrial city here in Tema that will support the whole entire continent and trade with the whole continent out of this facility. And such initiatives definitely is coming to support that.
The Metropolitan Chief Executive of TEMA, Felix Ni Ananla, said the collaboration between the Kingdom Exim Group and his outfit is a demonstration of the government's vision of leveraging the private sector for national development, and added that this infrastructure would benefit the Tema metropolis immensely.
The President's drive is to empower the private sector and to make it the fulcrum of Ghana's industrialization. It is an undeniable fact that the underpinning of every economic growth at the local level depend largely on the business environment.
The Deputy Minister of Transport, Daniel Nikwate Titus Glover, who doubles as the Member of Parliament for Tema East, said the facility has come at an opportune time to help the Transport Ministry's efforts to ensure safe movements of people and goods. He further called for efficient collaboration among stakeholders to ensure that the weighbridge facility is put to good use.
17 million tons of cargo, whether bulk cargo, containerized cargo, general cargo, definitely they have to go through the roads. It means that TMA, with your partnership with Q&Q services, you have a duty, you have a task to make sure that you have to project how you're going to direct traffic on this stretch of the road to make this facility functional.
The guest speaker and Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, praised the holistic efforts of the Kingdom Exim Group of Companies towards the socio-economic development of Ghana and expressed faith that the 10 million Ghana cedis investment in this project will bring about many benefits to the logistics industry of the country.
There is nothing which excites me more than any infrastructure that will help the nation. I am educated that even for the phase one of this beginning point, a whopping 10 million Ghana cedis has been sunk into this project.
Okay, so that's what happened on Saturday. That weighbridge is officially open, so the truck drivers, you're supposed to utilize them to ensure that you have the right weight of your cargo, and then don't abuse it, because you abuse it, you meet the men in uniform on the road, and they would definitely not allow you to go. Also, to save our roads, keep them as strong as we want. So we are talking about the launching or the handing over of the AFTA Secretariat to the African Union Commission. Tomorrow is going to be done by His Excellency the President to the AU Chair or the AU Secretariat Commission and the AFTA Secretariat as well. So we're expecting that most of those dignitaries are already in town to witness that particular event. Louis, you know about that? You know who is in town already?
I do those on the program I'm supposed to be in.
Okay. You have a rough idea who and who we are supposed to see?
Surely we are supposed to see the commissioner, the EU commissioner.
Yeah.
We are supposed to see the Secretary General.
Okay.
His Excellency Wamkele. We're also supposed to have Commissioner of Trade, possibly, and also other dignitaries from the UNECA.
Okay.
To be present.
Okay.
I know a total of at least 15 were given the clearance.
15 from the AUC, African Union Commission. Okay. Okay. Is there anything you know around that arrangement?
No, there's just also the president of Niger.
Okay.
He's the designated champion of African regional integration, and so he is also.
He's also showing up.
And he was also the host for last year's official inauguration of the AFCFTA. So he is more or less the designated AU head of state. So he is also on the program. I think he's also in town. I'm not very sure. So by now, Sunday evening, by all means.
Most of them are arriving,
most of them,
yeah.
if not all of them, will be around.
Zarim Kami, have you picked up anything from that arrangement, what's happening tomorrow morning?
I know the program starts at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
It's welcome news for all of us. It should have happened in July, and the trading should have started in July, and now it's supposed to start in January. But at least the structures have been worked on, and now the commissioning is happening tomorrow. So at least it's a first step towards the realization of the progress that's been made so far.
Yeah, so you're right. The program starts exactly 11. So from, let's say from 10, there's guests seated. From 10:55, arrival of the President of our Republic. And then at 11 on the dot, we should have the AU and the Ghana National Anthem. And then also opening prayers that by Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kebuafo, Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, will be there. Sheikh Nuhu Shaributu, Chief Imam of Ghana, will also deliver that prayer. And then welcome remarks by the Foreign Minister, Honorable Shelley Ayokoboche. And then it goes on and on. So opening statement will be done by the Minister of Trade, Alan Chomanting. The address will be made by Nana Adodankwa, co-founder, the President of our Republic. And then it goes on and on. So I see speech by His Excellency Musa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, which you mentioned earlier. And then I also see a goodwill message from His Excellency Mohamedou Yusufu, President of Niger, which Ziad mentioned earlier. And then goodwill message from His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of Republic of South Africa. So Cyril ought to be in town as well. So that basically that's it. And then the inspection of the Secretariat is solved by the entire VIP team. This is what we are to see largely tomorrow. You are encouraged to tune into the Ghana television. That will be broadcast live. Also, the Ministry of Information's Facebook page should be broadcasting that live if you are interested in this particular project. But you should be, because it's a matter of trade for the continent. It's a matter of good news also for this country. We have spearheaded as a country so many things in the past, and this is another that we are leading. What do you make of this event and Ghana's role we are playing?
Well, I think that significantly this is a dream come true, and this is more or less Ghana becoming the economic wall, or the Wall Street Journal of Africa, the economic power of Africa, because we are realizing for the first time a Pan-African institution that Ghana never had any Pan-African institution here. And so this is one step. And also I'm realizing the fact that for the first time we're going to have our local people getting employment.
I see, you think so?
Yes, the content of employment is in two folds. We're giving one to member states, which is the normal protocol of the African Union, and then the local content, the host. So if you go to Addis Ababa, you know a lot of Ethiopians, and also those within the East African community. Most are also there, apart from the consultants. And so once you also host it, you go to Africos, the African Development Bank. So the same way, the protocol says the ones you're hosting, the local content of employment opportunities are supposed to go to your citizens. a number of them. So it is in twofold. So I'm happy about that. That would be my initial. And also one other area I'm looking, I'm happy because at the end of the day, Ghana bidded for and Ghana won.
Yeah.
And Ghana has shown that commitment by its infrastructure provision.
Yeah.
And Ghana met all the criteria for hosting. It was not just a matter of politicking. It is a matter of meeting certain criteria, the infrastructure, education, airport, transport. All these were looked into.
Yeah.
And the edifice office itself. My only concern is that I know that the whole block will not accommodate
the entire secretariat.
There will be some offices.
Will there be other tenants?
Yeah, they are. But that was my only reservation. But that is.
What do you have a problem with?
I would have wished the whole block is given to them.
Okay.
They need to have all the 54 countries represented, kind of. But well, that is the wisdom of the agreement.
Mm.
We have Exim Bank there. We have GCS also there, Ghana Commodity Exchange. We have Exim Bank this year. I think and GEPA.
But don't you think it's also strategic for those institutions
it looks strategic.
to have them in the building with
wherever they would have been, it would have still been strategic.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that for me, Pan-African headquarters, I would have wished
that it's solely devoted to
them. That is my personal.
Earlier, when you talked about Ghana has never had a Pan-African institution resident here, what did you seek to emphasize? Are you talking about, let's say we have the ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja, we have this here, we have Addis Ababa AU.
I'm looking at the Pan-African, so going beyond ECOWAS.
Okay.
If you look at Pan-African African Union to the courts,
yeah,
I think it's in South Africa also.
Yeah.
Then we have the other majors in the bank, other major institutions we don't have. In fact, during the time of the Ivorian War, Cote d'Ivoire, there was that openness for Ghana to have taken opportunity to take over from Ivory Coast, hosting the ADB, African Development Bank. Unfortunately, we didn't take that quick opportunity. And so if I'm looking at it at the Pan-African level, we've not hosted a regional head office. Even the president himself
acknowledged it.
Precisely.
Yeah. So Ziad, we are gearing towards having an African market with this whole secretariat. Whatever is happening tomorrow, the handing over, Ghana hosting this secretariat, what does it mean for you? Borderless, you have been borderless president for the region and also Ghana. Where does this fit in line of the agenda and vision we've had for trade within the region and the continent at large?
Let me give you two answers. First of all, the Ghanaian answer, because the Ghanaian side of me is feeling proud about the achievement of having such a structure in Accra, in Ghana. Formerly, Ghanaians were scattered across the continent with lots of talent. We have a lot of talented Ghanaian diplomats, politicians, political economists, private sector representatives, professionals, all across the continent, but scattered in small clusters. Now, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement will allow a centralization or a focus of these talents back in matters that are synergetic. So now all of these clusters from Addis, from Cairo, from Pretoria, from Abuja will focus back in Accra, and it will help the efforts of the government of Ghana to move forward with the economy. And keep in mind something previously mentioned about the building and its positioning.
Yeah.
The government of Ghana had a long vision when it strategically allowed GEPA and GCX to have a presence in that building, because it was in the making for several years now that these structures, which are not part of the building, the secretariat, but part of that building, they have now access to that kind of structure. GEPA, which is, for example, has a vested interest in exporting Ghanaian goods into African markets.
Okay, so for the purposes of those who don't get GEPA, you're talking about the Ghana Export Promotion Authority.
GEPA is actually positioned in the AFCFTA Secretariat, so they have access to a host of professionals and they can engage more or less with proximity, so they have geography in their favor. And so as a Ghanaian, I'm very proud of this achievement. I know that as Ghanaians we can do it. Now, for Borderless Alliance, we have been engaging in regional integration, advocacy, and the removal of the barriers to trade and transport for a while in the region. And we believe that this integration is very timely, that there are markets, African markets for African goods. It's just that there is this need to create these market linkages that goes beyond West Africa. Even in West Africa, people think that we all produce the same goods. So we are consuming the same goods, and this is what is creating this kind of competition when we are exporting or we are importing. But it's really not the point. What we are looking at is for integrating the continent to identify markets and linkages for producers, manufacturers, and outgrowers from Africa to be consumed by Africans. We have products that we can be proud of. We have some quality export.
Yeah, we'll get into that in detail. We'll get into that in detail. I would love to take you back to the facility itself, because we're seeing it handed over a little bit, so that we just kill that aspect, and then we come into the benefits and what we intend to do and all of that. So take, for instance, the facility where it is located, and the fact that Exim Bank is in there, GEPA is in there. Now you talk about the fact that there's proximity for those institutions, easy access to certain things and all of that. But what do you also expect as far as conduct of those institutions are concerned in a facility like that, that is housing a whole Pan-African institution of that magnitude?
First of all, keep in mind that a few days ago you recall that the Parliament of Ghana has negotiated the agreement, and there are certain guidelines that guide the operations of such a structure. Yeah. First of all, it is a diplomatic status.
It is.
So it is going to be well securitized, it's going to be well operationalized, and then it's going to be well maintained.
Yeah. It should be.
In such, yes. Now, the location itself is a very good location, with proximity to all of the government agencies of Ghana, quick access to the business district, so it's very well located. So with its future engagements in and out of the Secretariat, it will make meetings, it will make discussions much more easier, and it will be convening. It's a convening factor.
Yeah.
So, and it's taking place in Accra.
Yeah, yeah. So if you talk, for instance, about security, and you talk about the fact that these other institutions are there, it means that one would expect that they also conform to some of those security protocols that will be in there. There will be several meetings, sometimes presidents and heads of state will be visiting with GEPA and Exim Bank, all working there. You would expect a certain level of some comportment,
of course.
of course. from staff and all of that of these institutions, right?
Yes.
Maybe I'll bring Mr. Donikwame in at this point.
We have several examples similar to what is this arrangement across town in Accra.
Like which
there's, for example, in the Movenpick Hotel, the Ambassador Movenpick Hotel, you have the visa sections of the Emirates and the UK consulates.
It wouldn't be of the same rank, though, if you have a secretariat of the
but technically the office is also a particular status. And then you have, for example, a few embassies. There's an embassy in the building where it used to be the Marina Mall building. That new office where there's VFS, but there's also an embassy there on the last 2 or 3 floors. I think the Embassy of Israel or something who recently moved in. So there are certain arrangements where a building, part of it will be directed for that particular embassy, and it will have its own entrances, it will have its own security protocol and arrangements for its own guests and visitors and workers and employees to move from without hindering the access for the rest of the building. So it can be, it's just a matter of making sure that you cover the basis in an adequate way. You isolate the interactions between people who are coming for other businesses and people who are coming specifically for this entry.
Mr. Donikwame's office is also at around that corner. It's at the CBD, and then quite close to where we are all talking about, where the Outer Secretariat is. And your building is also sharing, your tenant with other huge institutions, right?
I used to be with the World Trade Center.
The World Trade Center, you've moved from there?
Okay. Yeah. But what I would say is that I don't think the long-term plan is to have those institutions in there. What I would like to say is that I'm not too sure whether it's the long-term plan to maintain the national institutions in there.
Okay.
And I believe as the Secretariat starts operations, they might end up setting up other institutions as an offshoot of the work of the Secretariat. A lot depends on the roadmap that's been developed by member states, and then the action plan and the budgets that has to go with it. And the new Secretary General, once he steps into his office, needs to put those things in place. So there may be the development or the creation of other institutions out of the Secretariat, and they may be taking more space within the building. That's what I foresee in the long term. In the short term, at least, once we have Export Promotion Authority, the Exim Bank, and others in there, the early stages, definitely, they need to take advantage of the opportunity of working closely with the Secretariat to build their own capacity and the necessary linkages that are necessary to grow our exports and grow our private sector.
What opportunity would you see in there if you are to advise Madame Efua, for instance, who is a tenant there?
The main aim of the agreement is to create one single market, and access to this market has to do with those involved in exports. You know, so we need to promote made in Ghana goods, and then make sure we do not only target markets outside Africa, but we look to how to increase intra-African trade by exporting to neighboring countries.
Okay.
Let me add a voice. One of the biggest differences that we need to clarify that, like Donnie said, I think the initial goal was not to house them for a very long time. Like I was saying, Ghana was made to compete with 7 other countries to win the bid. And so in the roadmap to winning, there were a lot of criteria. And at that time, I think that the overall purpose of that building, even though it wasn't necessary for that place per se, but we had to factor in quickly. And so GEPA and the other institutions were there. So like in the long term, as he said, because if you look at the Parliament's agreement on the host agreement, it clearly states out other areas that a diplomatic status must be given to the building, like the Vienna Convention. A full diplomatic status will be given to the building and the staff, and even people who are not Africans per se, but they are working through. So it presupposes that it's like going to Addis Ababa, EU, and then having private institutions of the nation after that. It might not create immediate effect. It doesn't really go well for that kind of.
Going forward, it may have some.
Secondly, the after Secretariat, they are not going to deal directly with private institutions per se. So whereby, let's say, if GEPA and
stakeholders of GEPA, private stakeholders visiting.
They're going to no, because it's government to government. Because if you look at the negotiations right from the day one, negotiations, they made it clear that government to government negotiations. So it was very difficult for even private sector, maybe CSOs and private sector, to even pull out their name. You have to go to the Ministry of Trade. So right from the word go, negotiations even at the business level, it was between governments and governments. So in the same way, this secretary is a Pan-African one, whereby they'll be dealing with member states. So institutions like, let's say, member countries' institutions will go through the processes where they are supposed to go through, either through their available channels. So, well, it's good, like Donnie said, but preferably, I mean, mostly it's not going to be like, because we are there, it's as open as it is. We're going to go through any other process that any other member states would have also go through. Let us get that clarification, which is very, very important.
Okay. Are we, Ziad, maybe as you want to touch on this, are we also to see that once this building is handed over from tomorrow, we're also expecting to hear official announcement of when implementation of this whole agreement begins, and then what next after that?
I think because of the ongoing pandemic,
and sorry,
it has been
just before you even develop your point, I would have to say that our producers will be showing the pictures of the facility shortly, so that for those, the benefit of those who haven't seen it, you'll be seeing the videos and the pictures of those facilities shortly. Go ahead.
Interesting. Thank you. So I was going to say.
You lost your thought.
Yeah, I lost my thought.
No, you wanted to touch on that of Louis, and I'm saying that also talk about the fact that whether from tomorrow we should expect an official announcement of when implementation takes off, because we haven't had that official one. There was that proposal to have it from January 1st and all.
No, I'm going to say two things. The first one is that the delay has actually resulted, it is an unfortunate delay because we were geared up for the commencement of trade on 1st July, and then it has been shifted to 1st January in order to accommodate the pandemic and to allow various African countries to take the situation to control. But now the second point is that this situation has also come with its own benefits, from the sense that we have realized that the huge disruption that took place in the global value supply chains, whether from food imports or medical supplies or essential supplies, it emphasized the fact that we have to accelerate the diversification of our productions. And so many countries, including Ghana, started accelerating its plans in order to drive and to enhance diversification and industrialization. Now, with the very short term, Ghana started with quick deployment of PPEs and the facilitation of the approvals for most of the government companies or even the small SMEs to go into massive production of personal protective equipments, sanitizers, soaps, and things that help actually to maintain to keep the pandemic under bay. And this has helped, first of all, plug in some of the gap with regard to lost economic opportunity from the inability to import some of our supplies and essentials from outside. But it has also created the opportunity to start working on enhancing the quality of some of our production when it has to do with personal protective equipment and liquid soaps and sanitizers, for example. And I think from this point, there's a silver lining in the fact that the AFCFTA delay has resulted in some kind of benefits in some of the countries, because the next step after improving your production and manufacturing is to see how you can export your production into your neighboring countries and beyond that one. And I think all of this can come within the framework of AFCFTA. So this 6-month shift with AFCFTA trade will actually also be joined by a re-strategization of how to prioritize certain value chains, including PPEs and medical supplies, for example, and then to look more closely at the pharmaceutical industries, for example. Where is the goods coming from? Most of the pharmaceuticals coming from outside. How can we start producing in Africa?
Is that what are some of the guidelines, some of the directions that you expect to come out of tomorrow's event that will give all of us a sense of the picture where we are going, the direction that we are going from tomorrow?
It's more to do with the volume of work that needs to be done. It's not much to do with the structure itself. I know the Secretary General is working from Addis. A lot of people are working from home. Negotiations are still ongoing. There are a lot of issues that need to be resolved before 1st of January 2020. Issues to do with rules of origin, the biggest one being tariff issues offers from either individual countries or from regional blocks. You know, ECOWAS has been in existence for a while. I've represented the private sector in so many meetings dating back to 2000. You know, so a lot of work has been done. I would say progress has been moving on steadily. I don't envy the Secretary General at all, because there's a lot of work. And that's how come I made mention that as negotiations do go on, there may be the need to set up some institutions to look at not just technical working groups, but you turn the technical working groups into proper institutions that will have to look at these things. Issues of e-commerce, you know, we need to leapfrog. You know, what mistakes that the European Union had, at least we will learn from all those things and then we leapfrog. It's a different world now. So those negotiations need to conclude, and then countries that need to ratify the agreement, we need to encourage them to ratify the agreement. How to harmonize our customs systems for interconnectivity between our various systems. Non-tariff issues are also in there. Then other protocols that are even yet to be touched. Discussions on competition, investment, intellectual property, dispute resolution, which is key if you even have to attract investment, you know. And we should not see it as just Africa. Other countries are also waiting to be part of this whole program. But we need to own it, you know, if it's even infrastructure or anything, Africans need to own it. Otherwise, it will come and go and the benefits will elude us, yeah.
Okay. And yeah, maybe Louis, but I wanted to find out from him whether this, the launch or the handing over of the Secretariat should send a certain signal to the regional community, how serious things are turning out. So for those who haven't ratified, for instance, there should be some sense of, you know, something, urgency, something has happened, so let's move.
You're right, because we're all waiting for 1st July, and it didn't happen. The reason was COVID. So definitely the momentum. No, the problem had to do with the momentum. You know, the momentum was building up, and then COVID came. So the rest of Africa, everybody just went to sleep. So Ghana needed to do something that, hey, despite COVID, we've postponed the day of trading, but something needs to happen before 1st of January for the world to see that we're really serious.
Okay.
And it gave us time to fix our building. You know, at the time we needed to do some fitting. So even if trading had started in July, the building wasn't ready. But now the building is ready, so we need to present it to the world that yes, we have.
Okay, and that should give us, Louis, that should give the world some signal of energy that we are, you know, let's pick up the momentum back again quickly.
I want to touch on a few things around the building and ordinance. You see, one good thing is that the African Union Department of Trade has created a support office called the After Support Unit as a backup for the Secretariat. Such that now you have the phase 2 of the negotiations going to be taken over by the After Support Unit at Addis.
Okay.
While the Secretary General focuses on the already negotiated ones, that is the phase 1, which is a very good news. Secondly, too, I think we need to also commend the government because it's not easy coughing $10 million initially as a seed capital to help the building for bidding when we won.
Oh, that's the amount that went into it?
Yes.
That's huge.
We committed $10 million when it was announced that we won for the initial put up of other things.
Yeah.
It's commendable.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, as I'm speaking to you, accommodation for the Secretary General, all those things have been factored, been created. The house where he's going to stay is done. So, I mean, accommodation. So we're looking at the time that we're going around bidding and the immediate announcement of what we are funding. I think that is not an easy task at all.
Yeah.
The next stage will have to depend on the government himself. You asked about what next, because the next stage after handing over is will be more dependent on the government. Why I'm saying this is that the government will have to decide when it's opening its borders, because not all the staff are coming. Like I said, the AU will come with some of the staff, and then other content will be given to the host to also employ. But the other consultants happen to be among a team that was looking at selection of some of these consultants, given they know there were a lot. But so we realize that they cannot come because our borders are closed. So after tomorrow, even I got to know that the Secretary General himself had applied twice to come, but he was turned down.
Yeah, he was turned down.
Yes.
Yeah.
That also tells you how important the President has taken this.
The COVID protocols. If the Secretary General can be turned down.
Yeah, even to the ceremony tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're now to about 60 people.
Yeah.
Even government is bringing about 15.
I think 80 all in all, but government is bringing 15. AUC has 15.
Precisely.
And, you know.
So after tomorrow, what next depends upon the government. Okay, I'm open for the rest of the, what do you call it, AU team also to fully start. One other thing that we also have to know that the agreement was in force since April and May. The difference was the trading launch. So certain protocols were enforced since April, May, because we said after the 22nd ratification or deposit of instrument, the agreement is enforced. So automatically, April, May, when the last country deposited its instrument, agreement. But in terms of the trading of China, Odin was mentioning something, and that is the other side we have to look at. He was mentioning about the concessions. As we are speaking today, when it comes to trading services, the last I told you, 11 countries have submitted their schedules. So even if trading was to start in July, you cannot trade when what you are going to, your schedules are not ready. Everybody must know. The rules of origin is in publication. It's about 500 pages.
Yeah.
It's about 90% ready. That is also very key. That will also enable third-party members who are not Africans to know the area they are coming in, what are going to be my conditions, so that you cannot, under the rules of origin, under free trade, you are operating under what they call it, preferential treatment. But if your rules of origin are not ready, then others can use a bypass and use the most favored nation, which is not acceptable. So these are things that we look forward that after the handing over, though it's not going to start full work, we are looking at January fully. But there should be something, commitment to the fact that the borders should be opened so that some of these...
Let me stick with the border bit and let all of us have a bite on it. Do you think, because it doesn't look to me that this whole COVID thing that led to the border closures has relaxed significantly to the extent that you can have all the countries opening their borders. Do you think that after this handing over, we should now begin to have to ease these border restrictions, gradually coming down, not necessarily saying that everything must go, everybody must go in and out, but should we begin to look at that process of easing up the restrictions gradually?
To me, I mean, in my opinion, I think that we have to put the mitigation factors first, because if you look at the other countries, other continents, what they are doing, that like UK, they set up all their what do you call it, quarantine process and everything for people coming in. If we put all these things and we're ready, and we know that okay, once you come in, you have 2 weeks mandatory quarantine. After that, before all those things, if we have put all the mitigation factors ready, I think we can ease it. Hey, that is so simple.
But before you get all those things ready, you'll be heading towards December somewhere.
Before, I'm sure about this time, all the way from the time the borders were closed.
They should have been thinking around those things.
Surely the expert by this time might have been putting things together. Because I've got to know something that it will be easy a bit for people who want to come and register and vote outside to come. So of course, I know that by this time the government and the team are trying to put together.
Okay. Zia, take a bite on that one. Do you reckon that by now we should have that kind of conversation where we ease out the restrictions we have at our borders, as we hope and fight towards starting after implementation 1st January?
Let me first go back to the use of the word ease. So when you talk about the COVID-19 situation easing, in the sense that we know more about how COVID is infecting and about holding it in check, I think it is about time to think what lays beyond COVID-19. So easing the restrictions on border closures in the sense that you need to, by now, to have had the opportunity to draft a plan to get you out of the closed borders to the open borders. And that is exactly what we did in June. In 2 weeks or 3 weeks from mid-June.
Who did?
ECOWAS experts and the ECOWAS countries, the ministries of transport and trade. Ministries of transport, I mean roads and highways and trade, yes, have met in order to discuss the gradual reopening of the borders and what kinds of health and safety protocols need to be applied in order to ensure that the opening of the border does not aggravate the COVID-19 situation.
Okay.
And so we came up with a protocol about what kind of requirements for screening, what kind of documentation, what kind of procedure for moving across borders, what kind of procedure for using public transportation and private. So this discussion on a regional level has been already taking place.
Okay.
There is actually a manual of procedures that has been suggested, that has by the experts of ECOWAS, that has been adopted by the ministries of ECOWAS, and that is currently awaiting, since about a month now
Okay.
for the heads of state summit on that particular issue in order to adopt.
Okay.
But of course, this takes into consideration the country-by-country situation of COVID. You can't just assume that COVID is subsiding in my country and then I want all my borders to open with and I want all countries to emulate. You want to have a protocol that allows the movement across the border to be done in a safe way, in an effective way, in a way that allows you to trace if there is a particular outbreak. And that has been done already. Now, I would have wished that the various countries in the ECOWAS region would have moved together on that particular front. Unfortunately, for the past few weeks, because of the delay with the meetings of the heads of state in order to direct how all countries should go together, there has been a few birds that have broken from the flock. So you have countries like Cote d'Ivoire, for example, that has announced already its airports opening.
Yeah.
Well, Benin never closed its airport. It has always been open. But then other countries, on the other hand, for example, the Gambia, just instituted a lockdown about a week ago, a curfew rather. So, it's
country by country basis or case by case basis.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that you cannot have a protocol or a rule of procedure for ensuring the safety and the gradual opening of these borders. And then if particular countries have particular issues with the resurgence of COVID, otherwise you'll be in a situation where the alternative is to close all of the borders indefinitely. And that would actually kill the economies of these countries, let alone the ability to move and to communicate and live life. There is life after COVID-19. We shouldn't stop.
So, Mr. Adonkami, we should expect this kind of direction from the AUC now that we are seeing a secretariat opening from tomorrow. We should expect that kind of direction coming in. If we have ECOWAS heads of states already starting to adapt a protocol that is to ease restrictions and all of that, we should begin to look at it at a regional level and also begin to have everybody buy into it, isn't it?
Definitely, but the way we do business is also changing gradually. Things are done virtually, and then that's how come we push in for negotiations or discussions on e-commerce. We believe the future of business is gradually changing, and person-to-person interaction, it's not just the solution, but we should look for alternative solutions. And a lot can be done virtually. As a result, I will ask that those items on the agenda, when they having negotiations or meetings, they bring issues to do with a harmonized regulation or a framework for investment in communication infrastructure, so that at least the cost of data will come down, and you could easily use your phone in any other West African country or any other African country. And then we could communicate with our colleagues at an affordable rate, and then encourage young entrepreneurs to invest in projects that will help develop our e-commerce market within the region.
Yeah, but undoubtedly, goods would also have to move from places to places.
Yeah. Logistics
transport
is key. Logistics is
certainly.
Key, yeah.
So, what direction would you like to see when it comes to logistics as well?
There's been,
in as much as we have the e-commerce, or you expecting to have the e-commerce on the list of agenda?
We hardly trade amongst ourselves, and you know that you hardly see many Africans visiting other African countries. Even if you have to travel to a neighboring country, you may end up in Europe and then transiting and then coming back to Africa. So we need to make sure all negotiations that have to liberalize our airspace to allow for more investment for cargo transport, be it air, sea, or land, and also to allow for the free movement of goods. I've done a lot with Borderless on that front, and I'll pay tribute to some comrades that I've worked with, like the former head of MTTU, ACP Awuni.
Yeah.
I remember the late Awuni, we had to travel by road just because we attended an ECOWAS meeting, and Ghana had a lot of bashing that we had so many checkpoints on our road. And we both decided together with the GPRT rep that we will come by road and then visit every single checkpoint from Aflao to Elugu, just sensitizing officers, be it immigration, police, or whatever, on what they need to do to and what they are expected to do as far as all the ECOWAS protocols has been signed. So you need to allow for free movement of goods within your region and then free movement of goods within the continent itself. But you need a lot of investment in that department. So that at least you have the necessary infrastructure, rail, sea or air transport to move goods. Yeah.
Okay, we are going to open the phone lines at the appropriate time. The number that at that time you can call will be 020-552-8353 if you want to contribute to the discourse. The number that you can WhatsApp will be 055. That one you can continue to WhatsApp now, and you see the building on the screens there right now. So that's the facilities just around the roundabout, the red roundabout there. It's on your screen. So the number to WhatsApp 055-901-9177. That is not the number you call. So I see a lot of people calling. Please don't call that. 055-901-9177. You can send a message on that number. At the appropriate time, you can call 020-552-8353. Now, let's talk about Nigeria, Ghana, the borders. It wasn't opened before COVID, so that's an exceptional case. Now we have COVID. We are not certain where things have gotten to, whether when we come back, when COVID relaxes, we're going to see them opening it up and all of that. This particular stance of Nigeria and the direction and the agenda and vision of after, Louis, where do you see things?
Good. Let's make one clarification. Nigeria is not a member.
Yet, okay. Yet. Not ratified yet.
It is not a member state.
I see.
So
of after?
Yes, it's not a member state.
You know? Did you know about that?
No, but they actually signed.
Yeah,
they have signed. They have ratified. That's what I thought.
The thing I want to explain that to this day. You first have to sign. Parliament has to ratify. Then you submit those ratifications. Deposited.
Yeah.
The AUC. That is what makes you a member. So when trading starts, you benefit. If you have a say, put it in an ordinary man's word, you have a say when it comes to after. You benefit from the trade tariff or the liberalization of tariff. As it stands now, so I wasn't surprised whatever they'll be doing. As it stands now, Nigeria has signed. I doubt if you want to.
But they are thinking around. Maybe they will ratify and then eventually deposit.
So if you don't become a member state before trading starts, you don't benefit at all from whatever will happen to the members who are full party states. This is.
But you can also create some disadvantage for member states who are
who have to be in a way doing the kind of. Let me sit back a bit and watch what happens next. Okay, I don't want to touch much about that. That's about from the membership point of view. There are dispute settlements, as Donnie was saying, in the protocol. It's part of it because the agreement says that the host country has to empanel. So Ghana is going to empanel a dispute settlement committee panel made up of lawyers and judges. And if member states don't accept any settlement, they can go to the higher court, the African court. In that case, if assuming there was a dispute between Nigeria and Benin was a member state, and Nigeria, who is still not a member state, you realize how the situation is going to be like. He's going to tell you that nothing binds me. So we're expecting that most of the major players, Nigeria and other big economies, feel that condition. Another people, the Arab Maghreb, they contribute about, if I'm correct, about 50% of the budget of EU.
Yeah.
But none of them have ratified. None. They've signed, but they've not ratified at all, and that is also a serious concern.
So with all those difficulties, how do we move on now that we are seeing the Secretariat come up?
That, and I remember when I was way back in Dakar, it's one of my recommendations I made. Now, going forward, when we want to have a Pan-African integration like that, try to start.
We already have this.
There are stages. I will tell you 2063.
Okay, yeah. There are other things coming out.
The next stage will be customs and then one currency and all those. You have to get the people to understand and the unions and stakeholders participating. This one, along the line, they left the private sector out.
I see.
A lot of, yes. That is what the phase 2 of the negotiations, the private sector want to actively involve. Okay, so they left the private sector. That was why Nigeria...
The private sector wasn't involved that much in this one?
That was why Nigeria has delayed, in fact, because initially they would have ratified and signed, ratified and become a member. But when it was at the president's stage to append a signature, the trade unions got up, the stakeholders got up. So what are you going to sign up? We don't understand. We are not interested again. So their late negotiator, I knew him very well. He has to go and start from the scratch. If I was narrating his experience when we were in Dakar, he has to start from the scratch. The whole country, move from every society to society to educate the people what contemporary trade was about before it has not gotten to where they are now. And so if you move ahead, policymakers move ahead of the people, you don't get their participation, and then it reaches a point you realize that you become apathetic towards it. This is the problem that we suggested to us, but the next time when we are moving into such integration processes, let us get all the stakeholders involved. Look at the ECO. Just let me touch a bit. Look at the ECO. By this time, we should have reached a certain point. But look what is happening. There are two major anchors, Ghana and Nigeria, who are supposed to anchor the ECO. What is happening in their own economies? The convergence criteria.
Okay.
So for me, I think some of these things need to look at.
Ziad, so going forward with the case of Nigeria plus some of these other nations that haven't yet ratified nor deposited, how do we bring everybody aboard?
First of all, let me just clarify something, that throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been trade that was ongoing across West Africa.
Sure.
Apart from Nigeria, which has closed the borders and maintained the border closures since then. But trade goods and cargo trucks, which are moving from the coastal areas to the landlocked areas, continue to move. The reason this trade was disrupted during the COVID-19 crisis was because the drivers were subject to inconsistent border closure times. They had to go into curfews and lockdowns, but depending on the countries they were moving in. So they had to actually slow down their movement in such a way that they find themselves by their closing time in an area where they can spend the night and then continue. And so this caused some kind of disruption. When it comes to Nigeria in particular, if you look at the ongoing discussions and debates within the Nigerian circles, you will find that at a political level, they are catching up in a way that they are saying, yes, they are still interested in AFCFTA, and that, yes, they want to reach a stage where they will ratify. Unfortunately for them, the bureaucracy for a country of 180 million is very notorious. So understandably, as Louis was saying earlier, it's a question of actually discussing and engaging
to get the people along.
With not just people, with those who matter, with the decision makers, with the representatives of civil society, of private enterprises,
trade unions,
of the SMEs, the trade unions, the organized private associations, those who group the numbers of economic operators in the countries, most of which are informal. And this brings us into a very key point. There is this informal nature of business across Africa, which is making it hard to communicate with people who matter. So how can you engage with someone who is off your radar in order to come to the table and negotiate with him what his preferences are? It's a bit tricky. And you realize, for example, a country like Ghana or a country like Nigeria have anywhere between 60 and 70% informal businesses in the country. There's a lot of informal business, and that's not a bad thing. It's a gig economy. That's the new world. You can virtually operate from anywhere in the world with a laptop or even a phone and a bike. So you can have that business, but the problem is how to reach out to those who are in charge and how to create this kind of connection between the representative of the civil society, private sector, and then government. When we were in Niamey last year, during the AFCFTA CSO forum, the UNECA and the African Union were urging the representatives of the civil society to play a new political role in order to engage with their members, to drive their members to actively dialogue about what they need, what is not going on correctly, and then what the way forward is. I think for Nigeria, for the moment, they are having this kind of a discussion between their influential organized private associations and trade unions and the government, and they will eventually get the ball going. Now, the problem will still be about the reason the border was closed in the first place. And it's because of these mechanisms where Nigeria believes that they will eventually become a dumping ground for cheaper goods, cheaper manufactured goods, even including African ones. And unfortunately, this is somehow an indictment against their own efforts over the past few decades of working on building the competitiveness of their manufacturing production. And this here is a very important caution. I want to bring this discussion back to Ghana to say that the next stage for Ghana is about looking at how competitive our business manufacturers and producers and service providers are. What are their needs? Where can they be supported? What are the opportunities they can actually grab the initiative on? What kind of support they need their governments to give them?
Okay.
It's going to be a kind of a balancing act. But discussion and dialogue is key in this way.
Sure. So, somebody, I would love for you to touch on how to get everybody on board, especially member countries and non-member countries and those who are hoping to ratify and all of that. But the texter said, and if any of you know about this or you would love to touch on this one, it will be good. It says, please make it clear to us how the project came about, who funded the project before someone starts using it for propaganda. I'm talking about the After Secretariat. I think you even mentioned largely what it is, but if you can give background, how did we come about hosting the Secretariat, and even why, and who put up the building? Do you want to pick that?
It is a Pan-African institution. It is, the bidding was open to everybody. They were shortlisted. 7 met, were meeting for the criteria. Then a team was sent around all these potential 7, and Ghana became the favorite by meeting certain criteria. It borders around the infrastructure, education, your democratic and your governance, and other few ones. So the team came to Ghana. I think that was last year before the Niamey. I think.
Was it May or June 2019?
The final trip that they came, they were satisfied. And let's not forget, His Excellency Nadu was made a point that a lot of, and the Trade Minister made mention at the last National Strategic Meeting at the National Conference Center that a lot of dignitaries, former presidents, were sent across African states to lobby. So that is one. Each country was lobbying. So we met the conditions. Secondly, the agreement says that you, the host, if you check the Parliament hosting agreement there, you, the host, there are a lot of things you are supposed to do. And so the government committed the $10 million. And it's right, because once you ratify a member, and you have also gone into bid and you have won, you have to satisfy the agreement. You have to lay the seed.
The $10 million was for what?
Was to be like a startup, to run
the Secretariat?
Yes.
Okay.
You're supposed to give. You are supposed to.
So the country gives this 10 million to the Secretariat, right?
To the Secretariat.
Okay.
Now,
is it to put up the facility, or right after handing the facility you hand over the $10 million?
One of the conditions for you to win.
Okay.
So the $10 million has nothing to do with
the facility.
It has to do with other things that could be used to initially run the Secretariat.
Okay. So after the facility, then you have a $10 million on top from Ghana. Okay.
Well, let's not add it to, like I said, the facility.
They are separate.
Was a condition for you to meet.
Okay.
The 10 million you have now hosted. How do you? What next? Right. I think Donnie was saying something about.
You need a few things.
All those put together and all those things. Who is supposed to do? You have not handed over. And one good ceremony that will happen tomorrow is that the Ghana's flag will be hosted together with the AU.
Yeah.
That is one thing.
Okay.
Now we have finally handed over.
Okay.
And so the 10 million was to run. I remember the last time when the Minister of Trade was given the issue, but just to run.
So at this point, who oversees or manages the funds that have been deposited?
It was given to the AU.
The Secretariat. Okay. Yes. So it goes to AU. So that is clear now. Let me find out from you, what are we to do as a country? Now we host it. People are eager, business community eager, AGI, everybody seems to be ready. What should we begin to be looking at now? Business community, institutions, state agencies?
I want to address the issue of the single market. I can't foresee a single market in Africa without Nigeria.
Okay.
Because Nigeria constitutes a bigger portion of that single market. So steps needs to be taken to get Nigeria on board.
Okay.
And I understand Nigeria. It's a similar situation with China. They really built their capacity before joining the WTO. They made sure they were up to speed before joining, because they believe they will definitely be the target for almost every country, you know. And that's where issues to do with rules of origin comes in, you know, just to make sure the goods are actually produced in Africa and the firms are owned by Africa, you know, so that people just don't import and then say we have a single market and then just move all these goods into Nigeria. So yes, we all frown upon protectionism, but you need to get them on board. I can't see an African single market also without the Maghreb.
Or South
You know, South Africa, Nigeria, and the Maghreb, you know, the Maghreb, that's Egypt and others. It's a non-starter. So whatever needs to be done to get them on board. That's how come I said there's a lot of work. I don't envy the Secretariat at all. There is a lot of work to be done.
And I heard him speak on Channel, Nigeria, one of the stations in Nigeria the last time. And basically he also sort of sent this signal that no matter what, Nigeria ought to be brought on board, and he's doing a lot of talkings undertow to get them back on. But if you were him, or if you were to give any advice, what approach do you recommend?
In any negotiations, you need to give away something, definitely. Whatever needs to be done to get Nigeria on board. First, they more or less are the head of ECOWAS. We have the ECOWAS headquarters in Nigeria. So you start working with the regional blocks. ECOWAS has been in existence since the 70s, and there's been a lot of work that's been done so far. So encourage Nigeria, who's been in the forefront of ECOWAS, to come on board, so that at least all the protocols that are in place as far as ECOWAS is concerned, you start with those ones. Once you go the ECOWAS, you start with the ECOWAS angle, definitely you get Nigeria, since they are the leaders when it comes to ECOWAS on board,
Because the other thing is that you also don't want to think that because by all means you should get Nigeria on board, you would want to do that at the expense of the smaller markets, for instance. And that one needs to be very careful. The fact that Nigeria wants it this way doesn't mean that Benin or Togo should suffer for it.
We still belong to that same regional bloc. So we cannot just shelve all the work that's been done by ECOWAS and under the carpet. So you build upon everything that's been done beforehand.
I thought all of that were done before with the negotiations. All of that were
within
done.
ECOWAS, we still have within ECOWAS we still have issues with Nigeria. So you treat it as an ECOWAS thing, and since they are within ECOWAS, we make sure we resolve whatever issues with ECOWAS, and the others will just fall through.
They had raised a lot of issues with the rules of origin, and which you have mentioned.
Basically, I mean, from where I sit, I really don't see much of Nigeria's problem at all. Because what? In free trade, it's not about how big your market is. Because remember, it's what you have negotiated. Because look, you should look at the total performance of the economy, and you realize that if you're not careful, what you think that you're running away from competition, you cannot overbeat protectionism for a very long time. In fact, I keep saying that if you look at even David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage, it became a bit at this stage. At that time, he was looking at where capital was immobile. Now capital is mobile because of globalization and what have you. So you can be in Nigeria thinking that we are not going to be serious about this trade. But there can be a company in Nigeria that will be working with a company in South Africa in the year of technological infrastructure. To give a critical example, why I say I don't see their biggest problem. What they negotiated, phase one, they are giving 90% of the tariff liberalization. The 10%, I keep saying, is for countries, whether small or big, to protect itself.
Yeah.
The sensitive and exclusive. So all they need to do is countries submitting their list of the 3% and saying that this area is a no-go zone.
Yeah.
If you bring it, I either reject or I'm going to put tariffs on it. That's it. So the 90%, you go choose. So they don't have a case at that side. The other aspect is that, look, right now, Donnie was mentioning an issue that has to do with, in terms of benefit. Look, when virtual activities started, Zoom and what have you, most ECOWAS, even governments, or even AU governments, have had a drop in their fiscal expenditure.
Yeah.
Where they were going to go with airplane ticket here and there. Now, the Zoom. We can calculate the number of conferences from COVID period now and see how much they have saved.
Yeah.
So, I'm saying that the protocol of the Abuja Treaty that gave way for free movement of people, it is ongoing. And again, the Continental Free Trade did not come to do away with existing agreements. It came to build upon it. It says that one important thing is that under the rules of origin, it against dumping. So it provides remedy for anti-dumping.
Yeah.
So where again is the case? The thing I have a problem is that if Nigeria is a member state and there is a dispute and both parties refuse to accept the dispute settlement, and one says, okay, after all, the agreement only gives you 5 years to withdraw.
Yeah.
After being a member, within 5 years, you can choose to quit. So if you, in the year 1 or year 2 that you are a member, you've been having this, you don't want to accept the dispute settlement by the committee or by the court after the panel state within the host country, and you want to take it to the African court, and you still go there, maybe you are not, the case is not in your favor, and you say, no, I'm not happy, therefore I want to quit. The agreement gives you the within 5 years to quit. So basically, yes, as a big brother, but as a big brother, you'll be surprised. Afro-American Bank, people were asking questions. I did one webinar with Dubai. We were asking questions. What about the smaller countries? How are they going to benefit?
Yeah.
The agreement has grouped them into 3. I said the last time, develop and list the least ones. The Afro-American Bank have set a credit facility to help them in the initial stages. It's not all of them that are going to trade tariffs within the first 5 years. It's progressive. So basically, if you ask me, I would rather urge that the parties involved in Nigeria who have to come together to encourage the government to ratify, they should rather do so quickly.
Okay, so there's this issue that we have currently with traders in this country, Ghanaian traders, locking up some of these Nigerian shops and other foreign nationals who are trading, the petty trading and all of that. To what extent does that sink into this whole vision of trading on the bigger picture of the continent? Somebody has also asked a question that I want to know the kind of benefits of employment the people of Ghana will get. Let's tie in how we can bring after from the top to the down there for the regular folks who are trading on the ground, who would have to carry some kente from here to Nigeria to sell, kente from here to Niamey to sell, and all of that. Where does this sit?
There are 2 levels of benefits for Ghanaian traders and economic operators. The first of which has to do directly with the employment of staff that are attached to the Secretariat itself. And that can be high-level staff, that can be mid-level, and that can be low-level. Some of these opportunities are open for Ghanaians because there's a local content element. So talents and normal staff, there will be job openings, many of them. I think 100 at least. That's what I think. So that will be 100 of people who will be exposed to the economics, dynamics and negotiations from across Africa. It will accelerate their exposure. It will build the next crop of economists and traders on a continental level in Accra here, and there will be Ghanaians. So that is something to look at.
How will that happen?
That will happen by interacting through the Secretariat with all of the other countries on their various levels and states of negotiations on the protocols, the various protocols, on the dispute resolution aspects, on the rules, on the trade in service, trade in goods, investment, competition policy, intellectual property rights. All of these are domains that will accelerate the expertise acquired by the staff in this Secretariat. So in this level, there's a lot of growth and long-term career development for the staff of the Secretariat. Many of these hopefully will be Ghanaians. Now, on the level of the average economic operator in Ghana who's asking, what's in this for me? You know that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement will open up the single market for goods that are produced locally, and then it will open up the opportunity to export these goods duty-free eventually to other countries, including neighboring countries. And so this opportunity will create the incentive to produce and to sell your goods in larger quantities, because your market is no longer restricted to your small market. It's now the whole entire African continent. And then assuming that you have created market linkages between the various countries, that is, the buyer finds a seller and the seller finds a buyer, wherever from Africa to Africa, you sell your goods and you get remunerated.
Okay.
And then this creates the incentive for people to increase their economic production, and this will mean that more jobs will be created on the individual countries.
Okay.
So there are
and then on the happenings around the local traders against the foreign nationals who are trading around.
That's a very thorny affair that takes place in Ghana in particular.
Not just here, other places in South Africa we just witnessed.
I was going to say that. You remember the xenophobic attacks of last year. And I was going to say,
places actually.
Yes, and I was going to say that many of these are actually not purely economically motivated. Some of them are political. Some of them are cyclically political because they have to do with the foreigner who is invading the private livelihoods of people.
And that's not political. The man is selling the same product here. There's another man selling another product here. He feels
I'll tell you something interesting.
That's not political.
I'll tell you something interesting. The only difference between Ghanaians who are selling in Nigeria and Nigerians selling in Ghana is that the Nigerians in Ghana are much louder. And I don't have a problem in talking about this, saying this out loud. Because Nigerians also restrict traders who are foreigners in Nigeria in particular areas.
Yeah.
But you don't find Ghanaians on national TV in Nigeria saying, Ghana must go. You know, it's a bit, sometimes we blow things out of proportion.
So you think the Nigerian traders here are blowing
I think they are blowing things out of proportion because it's the presidential task force.
Because everybody protects their turf, don't they?
Well, I agree. Fair enough. But the Nigerian traders in Accra have been given repeated warnings to settle. And some of them, the situation is in the gray area. I know there is a reason for grief for some of these traders. And I know that the freedom of establishment, the freedom of abode, the freedom of movement are embedded into the ECOWAS treaty. But then we get into the gray areas because the various countries say that various countries' regulations have to be respected by whichever traders which are trading in their domain.
Okay.
And so in Ghana, Nigerians say that we are supposed to be, the rules and restrictions in Ghana are too high. Now this is something I give them credit for. Perhaps the current GIPC Act 865 of 2013 is not flexible enough for Nigerians or for ECOWAS citizens. Because we've actually had this discussion with the government of Ghana on two occasions. In 2017, when the ETLS task force was in for its fact-finding mission, and then back in 2019 also with the task force for the monitoring mission. And one of the issues that we discussed was the GIPC investment laws and the fact that, for example, Ghana does not have a specific consideration for ECOWAS citizens for setting up their businesses. Instead, ECOWAS citizens are automatically classified as foreigners, and this takes the restrictions and the limitations and the requirements for the businesses to exorbitant levels.
Okay.
And so some of the Nigerians have the feeling that it's very unfair. But they do cheat later on because they are fronted by Ghanaians. We have discussed that one on many occasions. Nigerians are fronted by Ghanaians in this country.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, I will have Mr. Donikwame pick on that, the local trading activities and how we accommodate other nationals who are trading within the national markets, and then also some of the benefits to the regular business person or economic operator in this country with AFTA.
Let me start with the Nigerian traders and their issues in Ghana. I guess it all has to do with harmonizing our trade and investment laws within the region itself. I saw a draft ECOWAS investment policy, which it's more or less not in tune with our GIPC Act. So there's the need to have...
harmonize the old one or the new one?
Maybe it's the old one.
One is still okay.
Yeah. So we need to harmonize.
Who initiates it?
Not the various investment policies. I'm looking at the ECOWAS investment policy itself.
Yeah. So should it be the sub-regional body that ensures that their policy is harmonized with the national ones, or the national ones should rather ensure that their policies are in line with it?
It starts with every country having its own national policy.
Which we do.
Yeah, some countries don't. You know, that's one other issue. Some countries really don't have the capacity or the experts to
have their own
negotiate.
national. I see.
So in most cases, people just copy the Ghana document as the Bible, which is used.
I see.
So, but I've seen a draft ECOWAS investment policy, and the same we need an ECOWAS trade policy. And then based on that, at least once it's harmonized, it's not just even the policy, even our standards.
Yeah.
You know, because if you need to produce something, it should be able to meet the standards of
some or even beyond ECOWAS. Investment and competition policies are very incongruent.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was touching on this.
So you need to harmonize all these, and the issue about ETL is, you ask the question, what kind of goods are the Nigerians trading in? If it's a made in Nigeria product, I don't think Ghanaians have a problem with that. But if a Nigerian is going abroad with a Ghanaian, they're all going to import spare parts, the same spare parts.
Bring to the same market and sell
based
around
on the
same
size,
space.
the same size. Because I also did my own research with my colleagues in spare parts, both in Kumasi and in Accra. And the argument is that, yes, they are able to ship huge volumes.
The Nigerians are able to ship.
To both to Nigeria, and then they could still easily ship a few to Ghana and then come and sell. We want to encourage made in African products, but if you're just going to import and then take advantage of the AFCFTA just to dump in the countries, I don't think that is.
But even with that, if they are, assume that they are even importing from Mauritius or Tunis and they are bringing them here, should we give them that? Should it be equal platform of that nature? Even though it's coming from Africa?
It starts with your own national regulations. Our regulations are quite clear that you can't. So until it's changed, then the tax force need to enforce that, you know. But if it's like a made in Nigeria product, then maybe you have a case. Why would you want to bring something from another? Because the same reason why they've closed their borders, that people are using the port of Benin, bringing in rice into their country, and the rice is not from Africa.
So I was going to ask that if Nigeria can come out and say, because we need to protect our turf, these are the measures we are putting. We are not even allowing goods from elsewhere come in freely like that. How is it difficult for us to raise questions as to protecting our petty traders from competing on the same level? Is that a difficult thing to accept?
But as I said, we need to work on there should be free movement, there should be cross-border investment. I frown upon tagging people as Nigerians can do this, Ghanaians can do that. Going forward, we should work together. That's build capacity together and then try and create the kind of industries. At least we have Nigerian banks in here.
Yeah.
Find a way of getting Nigerians and Ghanaians coming together to develop products, you know, as substitutes of those they sell in the open market. Find a way of working together rather than tagging people as different from us.
Yeah.
I would prefer that tangent rather to create a policy that encourages more of that.
Okay. Share with us some of the benefits you think regular economic operators can benefit from this whole after business. I would have Ziad and Louis bite on what we discussed.
It will surprise you to know that when we talk of FDIs, the first point of call is people outside the continent are always seen as foreign direct investment. But there are a lot of very good businessmen, indigenous Ghanaian businessmen who really want to move out and then invest in other countries. I've gone on trade missions with a couple of them who were prepared to set up factories in other African countries. And this is an opportunity. Once they know the guidelines are quite clear, and we need to do a lot of sensitization because a lot of people are not aware of what's going on, you know. So the Secretariat, once it's here, at least we will have access to first-hand information on the opportunities and the rules governing doing business within the continent. And it will surprise you, some will even prefer starting their business elsewhere than in Ghana, based on the kind of products they want to manufacture. If the raw material is in another country, you would prefer to start in that country rather than in Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Louis, you wanted to say something too.
The benefits are in twofold. The benefit one, let's look at the African Continental Free Trade Policy, African Continental Free Trade Area, and then Ghana hosting the benefits.
Okay.
The first one is so broad, one cannot count on one. It provides opportunity for lawyers, as I said.
Because there will be empaneling and all of that.
Trade lawyers. And so going to phase 2, that is the area of intellectual property rights, it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for lawyers. Number 2, we're also looking at the issue of comparative advantage, whereby what people should do is that the Secretariat will provide an information repository. Ministry of Trade will also have an information repository whereby businesses can come together into groups, associations, and they can go there, ask information about countries that are interested to trade in some of the 90% rules that are going to be free. Because every country has this 3% and 7% that schedules out there. The last time we heard AGI saying that they've been asked to look into the list. And so the opportunity is that information, as maybe you will hear, there might be, I know that for instance Seychelles, they import a lot of butter from Brazil. Then of course you pick up the product and the market. Now what is also going to, the other advantage is that your export becomes more. For example, you can't maybe export school uniforms from here to Europe. But under this free trade, maybe you can identify Nigeria as a market, identify Ethiopia as a market, and you boost your export. Another opportunity that is coming is that there's a ripple sectoral benefits.
Yeah.
Like hosting it here. There are a lot of regional meetings, aviation industry. Right now we know that Ethiopia is having a 60-40 agreement with government, which I'm not sure whether it has been finalized. So there's going to be that liberalization of institutions and partnerships between private sector, government to private sector, and private sector to government. Another opportunity that is going to happen is the academia. I'm glad to say that there are a lot of institutions we take University of Ghana Business School and I think Tech. They are coming out of courses, curriculum that will focus on the African Continental Free Trade area so that it becomes a research area, which is very, very important.
Okay.
And also, and then finally, like I said, in the area of the staff, in the area of education, private schools can be established. Because some of these diplomats who are coming in here, they want their families to come and settle and they want to go to school in Ghana.
Yeah. So
it opens the opportunity for more schools also to be established.
Okay.
All of you, accommodation, you move into the accommodation sector, I mean the housing.
Yeah.
It also gives encouragement to estates, real estate developers also to look into that. So if you take time, you can see the breakdown of
the benefits and all of that. Okay, so yes, Sani, and I'm going to take your phone calls if you are interested now, and then also your messages if you have any question, anything you need to understand when it comes to the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area. The Secretariat here in Ghana handing over is happening tomorrow. The phone number is 02055283353. 020552833 is the number you should call. The number you can WhatsApp is 055-901-9177. And Yasser Sani says, I would like to know if the AFTA is implemented, would there be a visa free to all the African countries? Can anybody take this one? Is it part of the ad?
I can take it because interestingly, just a few days ago, I think last week, ECOWAS made a public statement about action being taken towards developing a regional visa, an ECOWAS visa, which they call ECO visa. And so It's been on the table for a long time. And you might be surprised to hear that ECOWAS is the leading regional economic community in Africa, according to the Africa Regional Integration Index of 2019, when it comes to the free movement of people. ECOWAS is the leading regional economic community with its ease of moving people around, despite the fact that you have the checkpoints and the borders, which we complain about, but the complaints are much, much higher in different countries. So when the visa for Africa comes actually under the priority items of Agenda 2063, which the African Union is currently developing. You know, they have a portfolio of many ambitious projects continental-wise, and the AFCFTA is only one of them. One other, for example, is the single African air transport market, silencing the guns by 2020, and many others. And chief of concern here is the African passport and the free movement of people. The African passport is currently actually in circulation in very limited number, but the African passport is currently there. And it is a project to actually converge all of the African countries in order to come up with a harmonized and standardized passport issuers. But of course, we are still at primary levels. So at the regional level, ECOWAS is doing is thinking about doing something, early stages, even though it's been there for some time. And
let's
then
take
on an African.
Kwamina is calling us from Jowlu. Hello, Kwamina.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, I would like to find out, with this establishment of the Secretariat, are we going to see a fair relationship with China, as you are aware that China is so dominant when it comes to doing business with the African continent? That's the first question. The second question.
Sorry, Kwamina, let's get it clearer. So are we going to see what with China? What did you say?
Are we going to make sure that with this establishment of this Secretariat, are we going to make sure that we have a good trade relationship with China? As China also dominates a lot on this continental trade. The second one also is, how are we going to make sure as a Secretariat to make sure that those who are not comfortable with certain practices signed among the African countries don't exit with, this form of bitterness and all those. So what we're going to do to avoid unforeseen exit of other African countries who might feel that they've been treated unfairly doing probably trade and other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwamina. Mr. Donikwame, would you like to take that? Trade relations with China after this?
Definitely we have to. Africa is not an island. We definitely have to engage the rest of the world. And the most important or difficult challenge is that we need to speak with one voice. That's the bigger challenge. The rest of the world is waiting for us to put our act together. We will definitely have to engage the rest of the world, but we should have our own strategy in place on how to engage.
We have something to it. The agreement states clear. China or any other country will be treated as a third party. And the rules of origin is focused on preferential treatment. And so if you are an individual member state and you have an agreement with China or any other country, the agreement says that if you make sure that your other member countries is transparent, they are informed, you give the same concessions you give to China under preferential treatment and not the favored nation. That is clear. So that is something that shouldn't worry so much.
Did you get his second point, sir?
I think he was asking about whether a country which thinks it's unfairly treated because of the AFCFTA decides to withdraw, and what would be the procedure to go from there. In all honesty, my knowledge of the legal implications and ramifications are not quite developed in that area.
Isn't there something stipulated in the agreement to that effect?
It's 5 years. A member can withdraw after 5 years of the agreement.
Between now and the 5 years, you can't.
When it is launched, 5 years. After it's launched, 5 years after it's launched, before no. And even that one, there have to be disputes. There should be a settlement, arbitration issues. So if at the final stage where you are not satisfied at all, you want to take the appellate courts, which is not the jurisdiction within the host country. Then, of course, you have exhausted all the. It's part of the protocol.
Isaac is calling from Takrady. Hello, Isaac.
Thank you very much. Just a contribution on the GIPC. The comment by the gentleman from the chamber, when the product being produced, you can easily get it in Ghana.
Sorry, Isaac, your line is your line is a bit terrible. If you can get it straight for us, just position yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can now.
So just talking about one question and market. Even though we have sent a national registered GIPC, one thing that most people forget is at the time of registration, we tell them that, or they are told that they are not supposed to operate within the market. So you can have an investor operating outside the market. Fast forward 10 years or 5 years, the market has closed and then catches whoever the investor is. And then now they are caught inside the market. So sometimes the difficulty is if a person has not even the GIPC laws, and then they were outside the description of the market, then after 5 years, then the market closes and catches up with them. It's mostly not possible telling them that they should leave because they're operating in the market. And I think that is one of the key things that is also affecting foreigners, especially those in the court, as far as the GIPC laws are concerned. And I think it's one thing that we really need to look at.
Okay.
And when I was with GIPC, that was what really after about. Yeah.
Thank you, Isaac. Thanks a lot. Okay. I think he touched on the points that you made earlier with the GIPC law.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ziad, I would love for you to touch on this one for me. The institutional arrangement of AFTA, Ghana's AFTA institutional arrangement. You are part of some of the 2 committees, right? Is it 2 committees so far?
So that's an interesting question, and it's actually something that I hope that our Minister of Trade will also discuss, because we should be proud.
We have to be snappy with this because the President will be speaking at 8 and we are wrapping up now. So
I will be very brief. I just want to say that it is something that of national pride that we already have our AFCFTA National Commission, and it's actually very well structured. We have a National Coordination Office, which is vested within the Ministry of Trade, an Interministerial Facilitation Committee, of which the chairman is the Minister of Trade. Under this one, there's a National BIAT Steering Committee, which is made up of the heads of the National Technical Working Groups. And these National Technical Working Groups will be working on developing the national Ghanaian strategy for boosting inter-Africa trades.
Okay.
Trade policy, trade facilitation, enhancing productive capacity, 7 of them. My colleague Lewis is a member of one of the committee, if I recall correctly. Yes.
Okay.
And then
so let me just break your thoughts a little for me, and let me pick Kujo from Ashaiman real quick, because he's supposed to be my last caller. The rest of you may want to do the WhatsApp messages a lot more if you have any question or contribution. Kujo. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Kujo. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm on. Hello. Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to say a very big congratulations to your panel. I think it's a good thing coming into the country.
Good.
And in addition to that, I want to find out, in terms of security, okay, are we going to have the Ghana police manning the security there, or there are going to be special teams from the neighboring countries or the member states to man the security at the security?
Good question. Thank you. Okay, good question. Thank you, Kujo. So, like you see with the UN security and all of that.
It will still come under the Vienna Conventions, the national law, the national relations. Ghanaian police will be the one to secure
the place,
but they'll be accorded full diplomatic concessions.
Okay. The police, the officials that
countries, host nation will provide the security.
The security.
Like go to UK, UK police will be responsible to run security. However, if somebody, it's not an embassy, but they're given the full diplomatic.
Yeah.
So Ghana police will be the security that will be.
Okay.
I think it will even go beyond to national security level.
Let me go for my international news. When we come back, we'll just wrap up real quick. Shortly, it's international port news.
Despite the negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, German container shipping company Hapag-Lloyd closed the first 6 months of this year with a profit. The group profit stood at $340 million in the first half of 2020 compared to $165 million seen in the corresponding period a year earlier. Revenues in the first half year of 2020 stood at approximately $7 billion, less than 1% below the prior year level. This can primarily be attributed to the fact that transport volumes decreased by approximately 4% to roughly 5.8 million TEU, according to the carrier. While transport volumes still slightly increased in the first quarter, the second quarter saw a decline of roughly 11% compared to the previous as a result of the pandemic. However, the average freight rate in the first half of 2020 slightly improved to $1,104 per TEU. Finnish shipbuilder Meyer Terkku has concluded the first phase of employee cooperation negotiations that will result in the permanent layoff of 166 people. As the corona crisis has changed the landscape of cruise operation and shipbuilding drastically, Meyer Terkku has felt the negative impact of the pandemic on its operations. In April this year, Meyer Terkku announced the objective to stretch out the order book to 2025 to secure work for years 2025 and 2026. At the same time, the shipbuilder started negotiations to permanently lay off 450 people. Mauritius Prime Minister Pravin Jugnauth has declared a state of environmental emergency after Wakasho, a Japanese bulker that ran aground off the coast of the island nation, began spilling oil. Jugnauth said that the sinking of the vessel represents a danger for the people of Mauritius, according to the Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. As its starboard side bunker tank has been breached due to the bad weather and constant pounding over the past few days, the capsized bulk carrier is now leaking tons of diesel and bunker fuel into the Indian Ocean. At least 1,000 tons of fuel is believed to have leaked into the ocean so far. Crew members kidnapped in early July in a pirate attack on the BW offshore-owned FPSO Sanjay Birch have been released. The pirate attack happened on 2nd July 2020, some 30 nautical miles southwest from Bonny Island, Nigeria. BW Offshore said in a statement on July 2 that 9 Nigerian nationals had been kidnapped in the attack. None of those remaining on board had suffered physical injuries.
Okay, so that should be it. If you want details of the schedules of the vessels, Business and Financial Times should publish that, God willing, Thursday, so you can tell when your cargo is coming in. My guests in the studio have been Mr. Louis Yawaful. He's Executive Director, AFTA Policy Network. He's also a trade practitioner. Mr. Ziad Hamu is the National President, Ghana Borderless Alliance. Also, Mr. Emmanuel Donikwame, the Secretary General, International Chamber of Commerce. And God willing, after the launch tomorrow, we will also be discussing how position our country's infrastructure and all of that when it comes to taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement area. Tomorrow, tune in to Ghana Television. The program should start at 11, or you may want to follow on Facebook Live. Virtual streaming is available. Ministry of Information, Ghana should be airing that launch. Very important assignment for us as a country. Thank you for watching. See you same time next week. Executive producers of the program, Mrs. Isi Sudoberg and Mrs. Esther Jebidonko. I'll catch up next time.